Today we come to Paul's explanation of why he did not use his liberty to secure material support from the Corinthians, and what a noble reason it is. He was motivated by his desire to reach with the gospel anyone he could, wherever he could find them, and he wanted nothing to hinder any opportunity to do so. Our reading today is from 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 18 to 23. What is my reward then? Verily that when I preach the gospel I may make the gospel of Christ without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel. For though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to God, but under the law to Christ, that I might gain them that are without law. To the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. Earlier this year, or maybe it was last year, I can hardly remember, I was walking home from Belfast City Airport. I live a little more than a mile from the airport. En route there is a footbridge that enables people to cross a busy dual carriageway and railway. It's the main road and railway between Belfast and Bangor. The footbridge is 42 steps. As I approached the bridge, I saw a lady standing at the foot of the steps with a huge suitcase, and I think she was wondering how she would manage to get up and down the footbridge. Now I knew I could help, and I offered to carry her suitcase for her. Now this is what she said, and I was actually astounded by it. She said, "I'm sorry, but I have no money to give you." And maybe she had a look at me and thought I needed the money, but that wasn't why I offered to help. In fact, I can honestly say that the thought of being paid never even entered into my mind, particularly for such a trivial task. But as I went on my way, I had the joy of remembering how I had been able to help someone freely. Now, I think that this, in a small way, illustrates Paul's approach to the gospel. In the previous verses he wrote, "If I do this thing, that is, preach the gospel willingly, I have a reward." That's verse 17. Here he answers the question, what is my reward then, in verse 18? The reward he's writing about is not his reward at the judgment seat of Christ. It is the reward of being able to serve people freely. There's a sense in which Paul is showing that in not using one's liberty, one can actually enjoy a far greater liberty. Paul's great joy was to be able to preach freely. I may make the gospel of Christ without charge, verse 18. He could be free from any thought of filthy lucre. That was liberating to Paul, and it preserved him from abusing his power in the gospel, as he writes also in verse 18. Now it did something else for Paul. Paul was free from all men, verse 19. He was under no financial obligation to any man, and this meant that he could serve anyone. And that is what he did. He found that it was more advantageous for him in the spread of the gospel. I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more, also verse 19. That's what he means when he wrote, I became as a Jew in verse 20, and I became as weak in verse 22, and so on. Paul's actions were not self-centered, but centered on the furtherance of the gospel. This I do for the gospel's sake, verse 23. This is the takeaway lesson for each of us. Do my actions in exercising my liberty promote or frustrate the furtherance of the gospel? And I hope it is the case that they promote the gospel to those around us.